Joy Behar calls her a 10. I mean, how dare she objectify a woman with a sexist rating system, but it's such a typical thing from a 1.5.
Well said.
The motives stink worse than Joy Behar's jog bra. I mean, assuming she jogs. Oh, wait, there she is. She has a point. Maybe I am obsessed, but some people are obsessed with Bigfoot, and they don't get to see him on TV every afternoon. And if they did, could they tell the two apart? I don't know.
Joy Behar just got absolutely steamrolled by Gutfeld and Tyrus, and calling it messy would be a kindness. Imagine emotional whiplash delivered with the precision of stand-up comedy at a construction site. Gutfeld didn't just clap back, he flipped Joy's trademark smirk into a full-blown identity crisis, live and uncensored. It was part roast, part meltdown, and entirely unintentional comedy gold. Meanwhile, Tyrus played it cool, barely lifting a finger while casually dropping one-liners with the impact of a wrecking ball. No mercy, no filters, just pure verbal carnage. Think roast battle meets intellectual street fight. What you're about to witness isn't a debate, it's a demolition.
It's not even that. In The View, you don't need to find Trumpers. You need to fire your race baiters.
Yeah.
You need to fire the two races. You've had people. You had a McCain on there. You've had people on there before, and you ran them off. So the racist ones who want to stick to this, Whoopi and Sonny, and was it Bette Midler? What's her name? Yeah, broke-ass Bette Midler. Fire them and bring people in. Maybe you could get McCain to come back. She was a Republican, but every show and every break, she was nearly in tears because she was being...
Joy Behar has ruled the decaying empire of daytime TV for so long, it's a wonder no one called her bluff sooner. She's held that throne with the confidence of royalty, despite the foundation showing serious cracks. But then came Gutfeld and Tyrus, not with pitchforks or outrage, but with sharper weapons, razor-edged sarcasm, pitch-perfect timing, and a platform that didn't flinch. Suddenly, the illusion of Joy's untouchable status began to crumble. Fast. It was like watching a velvet curtain torn away to reveal a reality she's long tried to ignore. Especially when her attempts to seem relatable hit harder than a trust fund kid trying to bond over public transit. Make no mistake. This wasn't some dramatic standoff. No fiery face-to-face clash, no stage thick with smoke and shouting where Joy could dominate with volume alone. This was something far more precise. A televised surgical strike. Clean, calculated, and devastating, all carried out without ever summoning the Queen to the battlefield. She wasn't there, but her presence was sliced apart piece by piece, as if under a spotlight she couldn't escape.
The feral monsters of The View say they've never heard of you-know-who. True, the show that makes mornings hell claim that my name doesn't ring a bell. It's time for...
Our view on The View. Ugh.
Yeah, the witch's coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say.
Gutfeld, whose entire brand feels like a late-night comedy show crashed into a media watchdog column, didn't even need to name names. With the sharp wit of a caffeinated satirist, he sketched a painfully familiar figure. The self-righteous, daytime host, preaching to the choir between Chardonnay sips, feigning concern for the price of gas as if they've ever filled up their own tank. If that caricature doesn't perfectly capture Joy Behar in her native environment, then we might as well question whether gravity exists.
Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's gonna say she's never heard of carbs. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch and Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's.
Tyrus, true to form, stepped into his signature role, the soft-spoken executioner. No theatrics, no raised voice, just surgical-grade sarcasm delivered with the precision of someone who doesn't need to shout to make a point. While Joy Behar continued her Broadway-style performance for an audience trained to applaud on cue like Pavlov's dogs, Tyrus offered nothing more than a deadpan stare into the camera, one that quietly screamed, "Are we seriously still pretending she's relevant?" And the beauty? He never had to say her name. Everyone watching knew exactly who the target was. This wasn't an off-the-cuff jab, it was deliberate. A comedic hit job disguised as commentary. A perfectly paced segment that dismantled Behar's persona without ever needing her in the room. It was as if Joy had become the punchline of a joke she wasn't even invited to hear, and still, somehow, she was the only character in the scene. Zooming out, it's hard not to admire the slow build. Behar's career has become a masterclass in tone-deaf grandstanding. Part outrage, part inaccuracy, all wrapped in self-importance. Her greatest hits include historical faceplants, misplaced moral fury, and take so far from reality they make science fiction sound like breaking news. She's that one guest at a dinner party who hijacks the conversation with a TED Talk on geopolitics, only to mispronounce half the countries she cites. She speaks in absolutes, floats in her own echo chamber, and clings to applause like it's oxygen in a vacuum she created.
No, this is what elitists do who can't, like, if you don't know who someone is, how did you know to automatically hate him? Like, I mean, that's how fake and full of she is. Gutfeld, never heard of him. Don't like him. Why? Cause why? That's why I just turned to one of my kids. Cause why?
Yeah.
Cause I don't know who he is. Never heard of him at all in my entire life. But why? Cause I don't know. Because they are the last TV show to talk about high turnover. We've been rolling 3 steady for a long time.
Yeah.
We don't take breaks in the commercial to get away from each other. Well, that's what the drinking's for.
Yes.
Meghan McCain, how'd that go?
Yeah.
Rosie O'Donnell, or any of these previous fellow employees? Because one of the things they said was that no one walks away from money. Right?
Yeah.
So they got people running away from money.
And that's where the quiet brilliance of Gutfeld really shines. He didn't go head-to-head with Joy in some theatrical shouting match. He simply laughed. No fire-breathing rants, no dramatic takedowns, just a few well-placed smirks, a couple of sly eyebrow raises, and a handful of jokes that sliced deeper than any debate ever could. He didn't confront her ideology. He casually dismantled it, piece by piece, like someone folding up a cardboard set after the play's over. She's like the enthusiastic band leader on a cruise ship that struck an iceberg 2 hours ago. Everyone else is in lifeboats, and she's still on deck conducting the orchestra, waist deep in freezing water, with a smile that screams denial over awareness. Gutfeld and Tyrus didn't even need to challenge her worldview. Reality already did that. All they had to do was roll the tape and point. It helps that The View has gradually evolved into something resembling interpretive performance art for the politically exhausted. What used to be a daytime talk show now feels like a chaotic reenactment of a group chat gone rogue, part therapy circle, part Twitter feud, all masquerading as thoughtful commentary. Watching it unfold is like sitting through a Broadway show where every script was replaced by a trending hashtag and every scene ends in an exaggerated eye roll. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's up on a rooftop sipping his coffee, watching it all play, out like a soap opera in slow motion. Then, with perfect timing, he lobs in a segment like a comedic grenade, one that doesn't just mock Joy Behar, but disassembles the entire illusion of moral superiority her show clings to. He's not just critiquing Joy, he's taking aim at the myth of Joy.
The problem is that you have to go after the racist people, and if the CEO goes, you know what, I'm not going to allow a woman on my show or man that will go after white America and talk about them like dogs. That doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people, and this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you allowed in. You allowed black racists on TV who could just go all day and say anything about white people, And I guess lo and behold, they forgot that there's a lot of people at home, white people at home during the day that are not watching your show anymore. So just clean it up.
Yeah, you know.
Tyrus, ever the minimalist, doesn't need fireworks or fanfare to make a point. His whole presence is a masterclass in understatement. With a perfectly timed pause, a slow blink, or just a flicker of irony in his expression, he delivers comedy that lands before the punchline even hits. While Joy Behar needs an entire orchestra, complete with cymbals, confetti, and a clapping audience on cue, Tyrus just needs a raised eyebrow and half a sentence. That's the punch. Subtle, surgical, and devastating. The unspoken message? Joy Behar expired 3 scandals ago, but no one had the heart to tell her. There's something uniquely hilarious about someone who demands gravitas while acting like a walking political cartoon. Behar rants with the confidence of a tenured professor, the accuracy of a trivia night dropout, and the finesse of a foghorn in a meditation class. She doesn't aim for humor. She aims for validation. She's not telling jokes. She's performing clapter, that hollow applause people give not because something's clever, but because it fits their worldview. It's not laughter, it's programming. Meanwhile, Gutfeld and Tyrus live in the realm of real humor, the kind way that sneaks up on you and exposes the ridiculousness you didn't even know you were absorbing. Behar relies on a teleprompter and a stage set for sympathy. Gutfeld only needs one camera, one punchline, and the freedom to swing. That contrast is what makes this roast so cutting. Joy has been basking in applause for so long, she mistook the noise for agreement. Gutfeld didn't even bother stepping into her echo chamber. He just laughed from the sidelines, while she waved proudly from her balcony, blissfully unaware the crowd had already turned. And then there's Tyrus, delivering that signature look. You know the one. It says everything without saying a word. Are you seriously hearing yourself right now? No raised voice, no need for theatrics. Just a glance, a pause, and a quiet exit, leaving Joy Behar's argument to collapse in the echo of its own self-importance. Tyrus doesn't debate, he dissects. And in that silence, there's a kind of mockery louder than any mic drop. You can't combat satire with sincerity. You can't deflect irony with indignation. And that's where Joy falters. Queen of performative outrage, armed with emotion, but unarmed for the wit war she's wandered into. While she throws dramatic punches from the pulpit of daytime righteousness, Gutfeld ducks with humor, counters with logic, and hits back using absurdity as his secret weapon. It's not that Joy Behar is beyond change, it's that she's married to the performance. She could exit the stage tomorrow, shed the persona, and engage in real discourse. But she won't. Because being right, or at least looking right, in front of a clapping audience even when you're objectively wrong, is a drug too potent to quit. And that's what Gutfeld and Tyrus expose, not the person, but the carefully crafted character. In another segment, Gutfeld unleashes a monologue so casually brutal it feels almost accidental, line after line roasting the daytime echo chamber, reducing its faux moral compass to ash while never breaking a sweat.
Sure, all that, and the price of butter. Sonny gets the game ball. If it wasn't for her, asking that question, it might have been a closer election. But when oh no, nothing really comes to mind, I was like, cha-ching. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They call them Hitler, they call these things. America rejected them. And instead of coming back and saying, we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your...
It's like watching someone roast the emperor's wardrobe without ever pointing a finger, yet somehow everyone in the room knows exactly who's standing there, completely exposed. That's the brilliance of this moment. No names needed. No direct shots. Just pure, unfiltered comedy gold. And then comes Tyrus, delivering the knockout blow in a way only he can. Complete silence. No punchline, no commentary, just a long, deadpan stare into the camera, the kind that says, I can't believe this is what passes for public discourse now. That look alone could melt whatever thread of self-awareness was still hanging from Joy Behar's teleprompter. Let's be honest. It's long overdue that someone mocked The View without even stepping foot on its overly polished set. The show has devolved from topical discussion to what now feels like a recurring sketch about how to destroy nuance with confidence and glitter. Gutfeld and Tyrus don't need a seat at that table. They've built their own, funnier one. No cue cards, no forced applause, just sharp observational humor and timing that cuts cleaner than any debate segment. While Joy moralizes every issue, like she's auditioning for closing arguments at the Supreme Court, Gutfeld plays it like he's at a cocktail party where someone awkwardly brought up politics, and everyone else just wants to laugh. Because here's the thing, no one wants to be lectured by someone who treats dissent like a personal betrayal. Gutfeld and Tyrus didn't just lampoon Joy, they deconstructed the entire formula that props her up. And they did it without ever saying her name. That's what makes this takedown so devastating. Not a single rant, no angry tirade, just comedy that exposed the farce by contrast. Joy Behar didn't lose a debate. She became the punchline to the one she didn't know. She was in.
It's running her mouth. She should, but she should. It's the only running she does. Emily! So what did you make of this? VVAC is what you called him. I don't care if you disagree or agree with him. That dude is not dumb.
No, and that is what was so ridiculous. Everything that comes out of her mouth is ridiculous, but for her to make that kind of point about someone that we all know, that regardless how you feel about his politics or him running, that he is undeniably brilliant, is so ridiculous.
While The View dishes out sanctimony served with a side of applause, Gutfeld and Tyrus are over in their corner delivering comedy with bite. Sharp, unflinching, and impossible to ignore. And the contrast? It's becoming painfully clear which flavor the audience craves. One show offers moral lectures that feel like homework. The other serves up laughs that cut through the noise. When people are tired of being talked down to, they don't lean in. They tune out. And that's when laughter wins, every single time. While she perched atop her squeaky swivel chair, poised for a fight that never came, waiting for dramatic music, a worthy opponent, or at least someone to acknowledge the throne, Gutfeld and Tyrus were already 5 steps ahead. They didn't challenge her. They roasted her relevance like an overcooked pot roast forgotten in the crockpot of daytime television. No invitation, no RSVP, no red carpet moment, just sharp grins, a few choice jabs, and the comedic equivalent of dropping a match and walking away. This wasn't a duel. It was a remote-controlled demolition. Gutfeld didn't even have to enter her arena. He lit the fuse from across the street, took a sip of coffee, and watched the foundations of her overinflated persona begin to shake. Tyrus? He didn't break a sweat. Just a deadpan glare and a perfectly timed grunt that said more than any 5-paragraph monologue ever could. In that moment, the silence hit harder than a scripted zinger. Joy never even realized she was no longer the main character. The spotlight had already moved on. And the audience, they're laughing at a show she's not even in, and that's the real sting. She was bracing for conflict, a sharp rebuttal, maybe even a dramatic split-screen showdown with flashing panelists. Instead, what she got was a roast without a guest of honor. Imagine building your entire public persona on provoking reactions, only to find no one bothering to poke the bear anymore. It's not even entertaining. The bear is exhausted, the costumes worn thin, and the circus packed up years ago. Worse yet, the audience didn't even flinch. Not one bit. Because we've entered an era where viewers are trading the overproduced, over-the-top melodrama of sanctimonious lecture halls masquerading as talk shows in favor of quick-witted punches, sly side-eyes, and those subtle smirks that say far more than any soapbox sermon ever could. The cultural currency has shifted, and here's the kicker. Moral grandstanding isn't legal tender anymore. The View, once a midday coliseum for ideological battles, now feels like a wax museum where the animatronics glitch mid-rant. It used to be the epicenter for hot takes. Now it's just lukewarm leftovers, endlessly reheated by hosts still clinging to the illusion that their outrage is edgy. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's show, chaotic as it may be, feels like a dive bar where the jokes actually land. The bartender knows exactly how to pour truth with a splash of sarcasm, and nobody's pretending to be anything they're not.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage. for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Younger viewers have checked out of the lecture circuit led by millionaire hosts who mistake applause for truth. They're no longer buying tickets to the same tired moral puppet show, especially when the strings are glaringly obvious and the puppeteer is desperately yelling into an empty theater. Instead, they're tuning in to watch sharp minds like Gutfeld and Tyrus, who roast the absurdity of it all with a knowing smirk and a casual shrug. Meanwhile, Joy Behar, she's still furiously yelling at clouds, oblivious to the fact that the storm moved on years ago. Gutfeld is out here forecasting cultural weather with nothing but a clever joke and a raised eyebrow, while Joy's shaking her fists at lightning bolts, as if she could command the heavens themselves. Spoiler alert, the sky stopped listening a long time ago, and so did the audience. So wherever Joy is right now, probably gearing up for another segment where everyone nods along before she even finishes speaking, here's the hard truth. The takedown already happened. You just weren't in the room when it aired. And the crazy part? Gutfeld and Tyrus didn't even need her presence to make it happen. All they needed was her reputation, her predictable habits, and that ever-familiar show. The rest took care of itself. Let's see if Joy's throne is still standing. Oh wait, it's just a wobbly stool propped up by a laugh track and some painfully outdated opinions. Someone grab a broom. There's a legacy that desperately needs sweeping.